A lot of drama over this past weekend coming out about the New York Mets. This is a weird episode where we're going to talk about almost anything besides the actual baseball on the field. James is showing off the Ohio State sweatshirt loud and proud as they absolutely throttled Michigan this weekend. But that's not the drama. The drama is Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto, Jeff McNeil, Mike Puma dropping what felt like a hit piece this weekend behind a paywall for all things, by the way. Just putting that out there, behind a paywall. And it's got people on the internet in the baseball world going absolutely crazy. So me and James are going to give you our thoughts, our opinions on what's going on with the Mets, with Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto, Jeff McNeil, all the nonsense that we saw. Before we do, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, Mets'd Podcast on YouTube. If you're listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. James, I'll give you 30 seconds. How excited are you about Ohio State, just real quick?
I don't even want to do the 30 seconds. Let's get right into the drama, because it does suck that us as Mets fans, for some reason, had to be pulled away from what was one of the best overall sports weekends I can honestly remember, unless you cheer for the disgusting Michigan Wolverines, because Wednesday, right before Thanksgiving, we get the Dylan Cease monster contract, fun with baseball. Yeah. Thursday, the best NFL Thanksgiving slate I can remember ever.
It's really good.
And then Friday, good college football, great Bears win over the Eagles. Saturday, wall-to-wall, great college football games left and right.
Good college basketball going on, too, if you're a college basketball guy.
Great college basketball the whole time. And then Sunday, not a good-looking NFL slate, but exciting games up and down. But for some reason, again, it kind of, for Mets fans, comes back to this basically hit piece that came out right before the weekend about Mike Puma and the relationships inside the Mets clubhouse, especially kind of, for lack of a better term, talking some shit on Francisco Lindor, which seems to be the button that that some people like to press when things don't go well for the Mets. I thought we were kind of past that at this point.
Yeah, it felt like the Francisco Lindor witch hunt was over, because every which way these reporters have tried to either make him look like he's a failed player, make him look like he hasn't been worth it, make it look like he's not that good, make it seem like he's a problem. And it is the same group of people saying this stuff every single time. Like, you haven't heard one big shot, big name come out and say something like this. And whenever I see that, I go, sure, Mike Puma is going to be in the clubhouse more than Jeff Passan is, or Bob Nightingale, or even John Heyman, Joel Sherman at times, because those guys still national baseball writers. But at the same time, it has such an icky feeling putting behind a paywall something that should theoretically, if it's that true, be like a big story that you'd want everyone to read, rather than trying to clickbait people into paying to read your article, which always to me is kind of like, that makes me seem like Mike Puma very much knew what he was doing.
It does. I mean, I'm not going to say it hurts reputability, because Puma's been a great journalist for a long time.
Relatively speaking, yeah.
Yeah, but it's just, if you guys aren't subscribed to Post Sports Plus, which, first of all, thank God if you're not. Second of all, Jesus, we have some of the sound bites here to read to you. So the first one, and I oddly think this one is more relevant than the one that went viral. This is about Francisco Lindor and Jeff McNeil.
This one's way more relevant.
Where the more viral stuff was about Lindor and Soto, which is the biggest non-issue ever. But about Lindor and Jeff McNeil to start off. Francisco Lindor and Jeff McNeil had a heated confrontation last season, just the latest friction between the teammates in what has been a turbulent Mets relationship. After a defensive lapse on June 20th in Philadelphia, an angry Lindor at some point began verbally attacking McNeil, according to his source, leading to what was described as a tense standoff between the two. The Mets lost their seventh straight that night, an initial stretch of futility that indicated maybe something was amiss with the team had just surged to a season high 21 games, about 500 a week earlier. A play didn't get made, and that pissed Lindor off, a source who was nearby the confrontation said. So, a few things to unpack there. First of all, it's an anonymous source. So, anonymous source, all of a sudden, we don't know who this is. We don't know how close to it they are, whatever. Secondly, I went back to that June 20th game. I went back to every single ball that was put in play on Friday night. I had nothing else to do. I was just getting ready for the Buckeyes at noon. Had to be up in there early in the morning that day. There were two plays that I thought maybe possibly could have been what happened there. And I tweeted them both out, and an aggregator account completely copied my tweet. That's neither here nor there. Got 10 times the impressions I got on it. Again, neither here nor there. Again, aggregators, they ruin the marketplace for takes here. But we all remember that game. If you don't remember that game, here's a refresher. That was the Blake Tidwell, Zach Wheeler Friday night Apple TV game. We were 2-2, 6-7th. Phillies opened the floodgates, had a 6-run inning, blew us out. The next inning is where I think some of the play that I think could possibly have been the vague defensive lapse comes into play here, where Kyle Schwarber hits a hard one-hopper right to Jeff McNeil. Took a second to get into his glove, kind of caught it on the heel in a big hop. And then from like 15 feet away, slow underhand lobs Lindor short, who then fired the bullet, but didn't get Schwarber on the double play. And a ball that was hit 93 miles an hour.
Which is almost impossible to Kyle Schwarber, too, who doesn't run well.
No, and the ball, again, was hit almost 95 miles an hour. It was a screamer. A few batters later, Nick Castellanos hits a 2-run homer. I can understand some boiling of frustrations after the 6-run inning during your 7th straight loss in a game that you had no business winning, but were in, and then kind of a play like that happens.
Yeah, and we know that Lindor and McNeil have the history, especially with freakouts after defensive plays, where McNeil and Lindor in a game against the Diamondbacks a few years ago now, the old, was it a rat? Was it a raccoon? It's actually a rat-goon. And then all of a sudden, Francisco Lindor, we know, chokes out Jeff McNeil basically in the tunnel leading to the dugout. Like, those two don't get along. I don't think they're ever going to get along. But at the same time, I don't really care. I think it's like more interesting than the Soto stuff because clearly now there is a problem between these two guys. But also at the same time, like, I don't know, people talk about loving the 86 Mets so much. Those guys, like, a lot of them hated each other. They got into brawls with each other during spring training,
Constantly.
like games that didn't matter. So I think it's very hypocritical for people at times. And I have a theory as to why it could be so hard on Francisco Lindor as the captain of this team by the fans more so than the actual players or team, why people are a little bit more critical of Francisco Lindor rather than they are of some of the players of the past, maybe.
Yeah, and there's also a part of that too where the captain thing with Francisco Lindor seems like it was oddly a bit of a sticking point with some people in the clubhouse, maybe or maybe not. We know Adam Ottavino mentioned thinking that after reading an article about the way that Brandon Nimmo was. Also, again, correlation's not causation, but it's funny, these things are now starting to trickle out after a trade that might have been divisive was made a week ago. I think that's part of this too.
But that was what made this so weird. It's like, what? You knew that happened on June 20th.
Yeah.
You held it till November 29th.
Well, maybe you didn't know that happened on June 20th. Maybe there's someone in the building who was frustrated about something that happened last week and was like, I have something to share now. But that's also the difference in reporting because this kind of, again, we'll get to the Soto Lindor stuff in a second, but Disha Thosar put out an article right when the season ended about the fact that the Mets clubhouse this year was a bit more of a work in progress, but it wasn't exactly a problem like this Mike Puma article insinuates. And Disha had direct quotes and sound bites from Soto, Lindor, Marte, Nimmo, all of them. So it is difference of reporting where you have anonymous sources behind a paywall and then open article with quotes directly from players on the team. And
Disha's our girl. She literally only writes based on facts and truth. There's no speculation. There's no anonymity. There's no paywall. There's none of this like leaving it up to chance. This is what happened, and that's what reporting should be, is news. And nothing wrong on Puma for saying the McNeil thing, right? Lindor and McNeil getting into a problem on June 20th. Sounds like that's a fact. Where we get a little bit crazy is with the Francisco Lindor and Juan Soto stuff a little bit later.
Yeah, and also another part of it, just we had a conversation about this when this article came out on Friday. Like, it isn't that captain-like to allegedly like blow up on another player on your own team for a defensive lapse like that. I understand getting like when the frustration mounts to a spot. We've lost 7 in a row. You have an inning. If you guys remember that inning on June 20th against the Phillies, dinks and dunks left and right, and they just kept scoring and scoring and scoring and scoring. But the temper flaring. That's possible. We've seen Lindor a few times, that Brewers series especially, like loses temper on the field. Like maybe that's not the most captain-like thing to berate a player. There is always a time and a place to make sure players are taking accountability. And again, we don't even know if this is 100% true. So I'm not really saying anything, but I could see how that could be like a weird moment in a clubhouse for a guy like that.
We also do have an obsession as sports fans to just like we need a captain of this team. Like they're all adult men. Like they don't fucking care who's named the captain. Like it's more of an honor rather than it is anything that changes the actual dynamics of what's going on.
For sure. And I do think that's kind of the way this Mets team seemed to resonate with themselves. But again, it felt like the media tries to create this this idea that this narrative that Lindor should be the captain, Lindor should be named the captain. And then maybe if he doesn't act captain-like or the team doesn't make him a captain, suddenly when the media was putting him in position to be the captain, now they're like, has been made captain, guess it must be a problem. It's like, this was your guys' thing all along. This is what you guys created. It's just such like a dog running around chasing his tail sometimes for this stuff.
And me and you, I don't know if we talked about this on the podcast or we talked about this in person, but there always was going to be a little bit of a weird dynamic. And it's also going to happen with Soto now too on this team but more so with Lindor, because Lindor seemed like, taking over that captain role, taking over a leadership role for this team when he came in. But there was guys that had been here longer than him that also were kind of already maybe thought that they were in that role. Like we heard with Ottavino saying with Nimmo. Nimmo had been with the organization forever. He'd been on the major league roster for years and years before Francisco Lindor came. I'm sure it's not a Lindor problem. I'm sure Brandon Nimmo was like, hey, like, I've been here for a while. I'm the elder statesman on this roster in this organization. Like, it's almost more of a slight to him rather than a knock on Lindor. And even to Jeff McNeil's credit, like, he's outlived Lindor too in this organization. So there's always that, and this is not anti-Lindor or the players, but there is always a weird dynamic of a guy coming in being kind of crowned a leader when maybe inside the clubhouse it could be a little bit different. Like the fans, the media, everyone kind of gave Lindor this captain thing just because he leads by example. He's good. He's a great player. He made big moments for us. But like, you never heard players be like, Francisco Lindor needs to be our captain or anything like that. And that's fine too.
I have a unique holiday gift idea. It is called Superpower because Kratz, they care about you. It's a very unique health platform. It's new and it finally gets you the answers that you need about what's really happening inside your body and what to do about it.
I got the answers. I'm on the journey of what to do about it. Why would I not want to give it to one of my loved ones in my life?
Give your loved ones something that actually lasts. That's right, Kratz. Better health and more time with you. If you go to superpower.com/gift, you get a free $49 premium gift box with your gifted membership. After you sign up, they'll ask you how you heard about them. Please mention FT to support the show. One simple lab test measures 100 plus biomarkers. We're talking hormones, vitamins, minerals, and so much more. You'll get a full health report and a personalized action plan built by clinicians, including nutrition, supplement, and lifestyle guidance. Get after it, FT fam.
And I think also it is natural, especially with the team. You hear this from other teams sometimes, is that their leadership kind of goes to the guys that make the most money. So I think when you make that big move for Francisco Lindor, you're openly in front of the world declaring this is now our franchise player. That is putting not captainship, but leadership responsibilities on said player. And we have heard mixed things about Francisco Lindor's leadership from the past. I know Jason Kipnis was critical of the way he acted in Cleveland, but Lindor was also 22, 23 years old at the time of those quotes from Kipnis kind of made their rounds. And Disha also talked about this in her piece, again, from late September. You guys should all check that out. Nimmo, the longest tenured Met, prefers to have quieter one-on-one conversations with teammates. Lindor is known for his more outgoing, friendly, and easygoing communication style. They bring different things to the table, and they've grown to become close teammates. Multiple players stepping up and leading is a staple of these Mets. You kind of have your personality. Your personality is your personality. The second you try to be someone you're not, that's kind of how you lose your sense of self. So if Nimmo is the guy that can go around, talk to players one-on-one, and Lindor is kind of more just like, again, lead by example, hang out, be easygoing, be a fun-loving guy, those two things can play well off each other. Maybe it didn't play well off perfectly enough for what the Mets clubhouse needed last year, but it seemed like they kind of knew what their roles were in the clubhouse, but other people tried to maybe put other different conceived roles on them from the outside.
Yeah, and last thing I'll say with this Lindor McNeil stuff too is we knew this already. This wasn't actually news. Like, what do you think? They had that one fight and then they're going to be best friends? You've never seen them do anything with each other. Like, we can read between the lines. Those guys, they're not buddies, and that's okay too. You don't need to be best friends with everyone that's on your team.
Hell no, you don't need to be best friends with the man's team. You don't even need to be friends with the people on your team. You just have to play well together and have a good working relationship.
Want to win.
2024, I think, in a way, maybe gave us from the outside unrealistic expectations for how clubhouses are supposed to act. It did, because it was the happiest, most fun-loving thing in the world. We were making songs, we were jumping up and singing, but that's not really what baseball teams are. It just isn't. And I think that it's the recency bias always plays in our heads. And it was so fun from the outside to watch that. And we give that style and that kind of moment, that movement as a team, credit for a lot of the great things that happened, but that's not exactly one size fits all. And we said this ad nauseum this year. That was something that was kind of wrong with this club from the outside, seeming that looking at them, it seemed like they were seeking similar magic. And that kind of magic is not like it comes along once a year magic. That's like a once every 50 year kind of magic. And that's okay.
Yeah, my not wrong just early with my 2024 takes about that team and what it would mean moving forward. Not wrong, just early. And I'll say this too. In terms of, oh man, I lost my train of thought. I really had a good thing about Lindor. Oh man, where was I going with this?
I got
Francisco. I know what it is. Like, I think a lot of people will point to the Dodgers, right? And like Dodgers are like, they're great. The vibes are elite. Every fucking team in baseball's vibes would be elite too if you win the World Series every year. If you're the best team in baseball, when you win, it's a lot easier to enjoy yourself and have fun playing the game than when you're losing and when the team's struggling and when you're one of the 3 or 4 guys actually playing well and everyone else isn't stepping up.
And a lot of people were critical of the Dodgers' attitude, for lack of a better term, during the last decade because they were always the absolute cockiest dudes on the block. And they didn't really have anything to show for it until Shohei Ohtani walked through the door. So again, like there's always kind of limitations to what we see and what we understand about other teams and clubhouse energies and attitudes from the outside. It's always tougher to tell this stuff. And I also think, just to end this McNeil Lindor stuff and then start to talk about Lindor Soto stuff, maybe it's not the biggest accident that the Mets just went out and got a Gold Glove second baseman. I think there might have been some ideas that, again, while McNeil grades well as a second baseman, there have been reports in the past that sometimes he could freelance a little bit. There have been reports sometimes he's not in the right position. And we know in the past, the original time against the Diamondbacks, that Lindor got mad at him over defensive lapse. Like, maybe, again, this was a moment where 7-game losing streak, frustration boiled over. I'm also sure if you ask Francisco Lindor if that mental lapse thing's actually true and the blow-up thing's actually true, he's probably like, yeah, I kind of probably regret going about it in that way. But now you got a guy who's a veteran, who has one of the best reputations in baseball, Marcus Semien, well-respected, incredible defensive player, savvy, hard worker. Like, it's not the biggest accident that was who the Mets sought in a trade that not many people really expected them to make in sending out Brandon Nimmo.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about Soto Lindor comments, because Mike, this is where Mike Puma really, I feel like, started to take some liberties with things that he said. He knew what he was doing with the words that he chose here, and it completely puts out a narrative that I'm sure he would be like, I didn't say those things. That's not what I was trying to say. You're taking my words and twisting them. Like, you're a fucking reporter, man. You knew exactly what you were doing.
And this also is kind of the vibe of the New York Post. Like, I think we all kind of know that from living in the city. It's become at times tabloidish. But again, if you guys aren't subscribed to New York Post Sports Plus, here are the quotes for you guys. Another clubhouse source indicated that relations between Lindor and Juan Soto were chilly following the latter's arrival on a record $765 million contract. Soto is very businesslike. All business, no fluff, the source said. He wants to come to the yard and work his tail off and win games. He's not into fashion or any of that other stuff. Lindor is into that. It's just 2 different personalities. Continued. There are questions over who exactly was leading the team. Lindor, who has often been identified as potential captain material, seemed to lose some of his grasp on the clubhouse. Soto hardly dispelled that notion with his assertion late in the season that Starling Marte was the team captain. Marte is literally the leader of this team, which, again, they have to rehash these quotes. I feel like he's actually the captain of this team, Soto said. He's bringing everybody together. He's bringing the energy that we need. He's a guy who has been stepping up every single time. It doesn't matter what. So I think the biggest thing that has been run with here is the chilly relationship, and then the not into fashion or any of that other stuff, right? That feels like a spot to go to.
Yeah, because the chilly reception thing, it's like we're kind of having a lion off here. Like, lion doesn't, it feels like we're doing that whole thing again, where it's like someone told me this one experience that they had, and this is now going to be the truth.
And the part of this that gets really annoying is that this is blood in the water for the Sharks on Twitter. This is chum. So the tweet from New York Post Sports on November 28th, so that was Friday at 6:54 p.m., revealed Francisco Lindor, Jeff McNeil battled again, and the Mets shortstop's chilly rapport with Juan Soto helped doom 25 season. And it's a picture of Lindor with little pictures of Soto and McNeil. So they're basically blaming Francisco Lindor, who just had another banner season, for the Mets failing as a ball club this year. Guess how many impressions that tweet has?
I mean, it's going to be crazy high. I'll say 4 million.
4 million impressions, 3.9 million impressions. And then past that, the original, where is it? Yeah, the one from the aggregator, 1.5 million impressions. And then Mike Puma's other one that had that same thumbnail picture, details of Mets Discord revealed in their lost season. So Mike Puma used different pros than whoever's doing those captions for the Post. But just the fact that that's the headline that was viewed by 4 million people, and then all the other satellite ones that got their couple 100,000 impressions off it, is really kind of ridiculous when you think about it.
Yeah, especially because you're saying Francisco Lindor's relationship with Jeff McNeil and Juan Soto doomed the season, and then you click it, and I also think it's incredibly lazy, and like some other stuff I won't claim here, to be like, Juan Soto's a hardworking guy. Francisco Lindor, all he cares about is fashion. Makes it seem like Francisco Lindor is not really worried about what's going on the field. Makes it seem like Francisco Lindor, unlike Juan Soto, which is crazy because the original witch hunt was Juan Soto not being motivated to come play for this team. Now it's Soto's the motivated one. Lindor worries about fashion. That's his big thing. And that feels so fucking lazy.
Especially when part of the thesis from the first part of this article was about Lindor being too intense about what was going on the field, letting a defensive lapse, his frustration boil over after that, berating a teammate. So it's just you kind of lose the point in this. You kind of go back and forth in between what all this could have been.
It feels like it's been written at different times and it got put together.
Which is also possible. Like, that's also kind of it. And then again, I want to go back to Disha article. This is great reporting, this article. We hope to have Disha on the show soon. Last year was winter meeting, so maybe we can make that annual thing. But Lindor talking about Soto here, he's completely different than how I was, talking about how he responded to his first season with the club. I tried to hug too much, and he has a good understanding of what he can hug and stay within that. He hasn't changed once, so he's definitely ahead of where I was and ahead of his age too. It's like understanding that these guys could possibly have they probably aren't best friends. I think we're pretty certain these two guys are not best friends.
Yeah, I'd be making bets that they are. I think realistically they are coworkers. I think they work on the same team together and they're trying to accomplish the same thing, which is win games for the New York Mets. There's also gets underscored a little bit too. There's a variety and difference in these guys too, just personally. Like Juan Soto's a 26-year-old, 27-year-old who just got $700 million, and we've known that he pretty much goes home and watches baseball. He's just baseball, baseball, baseball. He really doesn't do much. He has been out in the town recently, but he really isn't doing much during the season. Lindor, baseball, 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 gets to the field all business. And then off the field, he's got a family. He's got kids. He posts about them so much. They are also in such different points of their life where they don't, it would be almost a little bit weird if they were best friends. Juan Soto's hanging out with the married guy all the time.
Totally. And there's a difference between mutual respect and being friends. I think that's also okay. And there was another great post from Manny Gomez from NJ.com. Manny does a lot of Spanish word stuff in the Mets beat, and he's in the clubhouse all the time too. And he tweeted, and he was also the guy who was on the front lines last year of the Jorge Lopez misquote from Steve Gelbs. So again, we love Manny. He's a great reporter. Don't read too much into Juan Soto and Lindor's relationship. Are they different? Yes. Aren't we all? Here's what I can confirm. Soto is very businesslike, all about his family. Lindor is the same. He also likes fashion. That's it.
Yeah, that's
okay.
That's all this is these guys just go about their work in different ways, and they're not, breaking news, not best friends. I think everyone who watched the team knew that this year, and that is so okay. Why do they need to be best friends? Why is that what has to happen?
It really doesn't. There was another thing that went around hardcore this weekend that Soto doesn't follow Lindor back on Instagram. Lindor follows him, Soto doesn't follow back. These guys don't touch their own Instagrams.
Juan Soto's
not at all. Juan Soto does not use his own Instagram.
I'm pretty sure I know who the guy is that runs his Instagram because I think he follows me. Juan Soto is not conscious about who he's following and whatnot. You think on these posts, he's the one going on there. He's scrolling Instagram. I got to comment this.
Also, the way that, again, go back to the T-shirt article over and over again, because great reporting. Great quote from Soto here. It's my fourth different team in 4 years. So I've been learning that things are going to happen organically, Soto said. I don't have to push it. I don't have to try. For me, the talks are going to come whenever you sit down with your teammates, go out for dinner, stuff like that. We've been doing that this year, and we're getting to know each other a little bit more. But like I said, it will happen organically. You can't try to make it happen.
Yeah.
I think that's
force it.
Fair for a guy who's been on 4 different teams in 4 years. And then
I'll say this too. We know, in the Dominican baseball world too, Starling Marte is a superstar. He is a god in Dominican baseball history in the world. He's one of the best Dominican players of all time. They love him. He's got the third most followers in Major League Baseball on Instagram. Is the Dominicans. They love him. Juan Soto's I get to play with Starling Marte. He's on this team. That's my unk. I'm hanging out with him 24/7. What do we write an article about Starling Marte or Juan Soto not hanging out with Pete Alonso? Juan Soto not hanging out with Brandon Nimmo? It's just Francisco Lindor.
And also the way that quote is, because I think we come back to that quote a lot. Marte is the leader of this team. I feel like he's the actual captain. He's bringing everybody together. Also, to go back again to the Disha piece, it said so much about how that was what Starling Marte was doing this year, specifically bringing Juan Soto to the team and everybody to Juan Soto, because Juan Soto is a pretty intimidating figure. If you even want to just look past the fact that he's had one of the greatest starts to a career in Major League Baseball history, already looks like one of the greatest left-handed hitters of all time. Truthfully, in terms of what you see on the field, you watch that guy play, you're like, holy shit, he's so good.
It's ridiculous.
I don't even think I can talk to him. Put on top of that, He's making $765 million. These guys know acutely what everybody is making in that room. Everybody is very aware of this. Baseball players know exactly what that is. So I think that can be something that is isolating a little bit. And also the fact that Soto has a bit of an isolating personality already, like those two things go together. And yeah, I'm sure he probably is kind of reserved a lot of the time, stays by himself. He said, this is what Marte said, Soto sometimes feels like he has to be separate from us. But no, I say he has to be closer to us. And throughout the season, Marte encouraged young players to go up to Soto, pick his brain, start conversations with him, just to kind of help him ingratiate him stuff back in. Also, we do the stupid pictures after every home run. Marte was like, take this picture, hold this thing, smile, make a stupid face. Like, just, it does take a while to fit. And there's a lot of weird fits in this Mets clubhouse. Guys who come from, we said a few episodes ago, like from 5 different general managers were in this clubhouse together. It wasn't really a cohesively built team. I understand why Soto would think that Marte is that guy, because Marte's main focus is Juan Soto. Like that, That makes sense that he'd be like, yeah, he's the leader, because look how much he's doing for me.
And also at the same time, like with anything, the new guy coming in, like there's just going to be time for that. It needs to adjust. Like unless he had a previous relationship with any of the guys, or like the Starling Marte connection thing, like it's not just going to be overnight. Like it can be, it's not going to be this time. And I don't think that's a problem. Also, remember when Francisco Lindor got drilled in the head by the Nationals?
Years
Who was
ago.
the first guy that ran over to Francisco Lindor? It was Juan Soto. He came in, made sure he was good. Like, there's no animosity between these guys. Chili, like, fuck you, Mike Puma. That was a ridiculous word to use.
I think that those specific words were important to think about, because like chili, I could see how it was like chilly, like especially like in April and May, but that's not really an issue. Like if guys in the clubhouse who are kind of two of the top guys,
You're supposed to hug and kiss every time they see each other, like, my man, where you been?
I'm saying there was too many that's the opposite of that. Now it's too much of the chilliness. And again, maybe the fact that there is a personality missing from this Mets clubhouse, that's part of this too, especially again, the way Disha talked in the article. Nimmo was the guy who would go one-on-one with guys. Lindor was kind of the more the gregarious guy, both leading by example. This team probably does have a bit of a vacuum there, a bit of a gap in who can be like the Hardo, literally, because these guys aren't Hardos. There wasn't really a Hardo. Jeff McNeil kind of is the Hardo, but I don't think he's a Hardo in like a way you're going to hold young players accountable. Like you hear about guys like Bregman, like Wilson Contreras, going player to player, like identifying something that happened in a game. Be like, why are you standing there? Why'd you throw that pitch in that spot? What were you looking for in that 2-1 count when you popped up? Like being a Hardo, but being a Hardo with good intentions, I think is important for baseball teams. And the Mets might lack that.
You know, it's the easiest thing about this too that makes me feel completely okay. It's all fucking narrative. It's all narrative stuff. This has nothing to do with what's going on the field. It's because the Mets had a bad season. It's because Francisco Lindor and Juan Soto are two of the biggest names in baseball. Like this, it's a perfect storm for any reporter. This isn't even a shot at Mike Puma, for any reporter to do something like this, because the Mets are hot. Juan Soto is the highest paid athlete on the planet ever. Biggest contract ever given out to a player. Francisco Lindor is one of the fan favorites. Like this is buzzwords. Ding, ding, ding. Ring the alarms. Like we got a banger here, guys.
And again, another part of this too is that the Brandon Nimmo trade definitely was divisive. That's it. Like you make a trade like that, you're definitely not going to make everybody in the building happy. You're not people who are in the front office, people who are in the coaching staff, people who are like clubhouse attendants, players. Like there's going to be different opinions.
Mets got rid of a lot of coaches this year. Like
again, like there's definitely going to be some agitated people in that room, which is how articles like this come to be. So just as fans, it's up to us to kind of be able to see through the bullshit, understanding there's definitely elements of truth in that, and like finding in that what we can. And again, I think anyone could have told you Francisco Lindor and Jeff McNeil, probably not friends, probably not texting each other, probably not hitting you up. What's going on this weekend, man? Like that's part of it too. It's just it's interesting to get this now, that timing of it, and I'm hoping we could kind of put this behind us very quickly.
Last thing I'll say is I also think like, again, talking about like Soto's age versus Lindor, like I think people forget too a lot of times, like Juan Soto is like relatively still insanely young. Like he's been on 4 different teams.
4 years.
In 4 years. Like he hasn't really had a chance to ever become a leader for himself besides in how he plays. So like I think there's a learning curve there from him. Like with Starling Marte talking about, where it's like, I had to get Soto to come in with us and be like, come on, man, like it's good. I'm sure he kind of felt like the new kid on the block at times, which is I don't think it's a problem. I think this is natural. I think it just gets magnified because the Mets stunk last year.
Soto said that Marte would like slap him in the head and like pinch his arms.
Yeah, like he's like you're almost like an annoying little brother, except he's older than you.
He's your annoying uncle. And then again, a big thing in this article was that Soto giving Marte credit for ingratiating him with the team, and Lindor crediting Soto with being able to filter out distractions. Because we know Lindor's spoken openly about that first season with the team, that he couldn't really say no to anyone or anything. He almost took the leadership thing maybe too much on his own shoulders. And
we spoke to Beltran
on
in
this
spring training a
podcast,
few years ago, and he mentioned like the
Same
reason he
thing.
had a bad first year was he needed to learn to say no to people, and he felt that was exactly what was going on for Francisco Lindor his first season, and I think he was right.
It seems like Juan Soto had no trouble saying no to people.
No, fuck yeah, dog. I love that.
Again, like this is.
I can just tell you the differences in personalities right there.
I'm happy we were able to squeak out 30 minutes talking about this, which shows how just sick in the head we are. But I do think it's worthwhile having these conversations, because from the outside, it felt like the clubhouse wasn't exactly the perfect mix. And it's been a massive change to it already. Beginning of the offseason, we haven't even had the winter meetings yet, and we just hugely changed the clubhouse dynamic.
I'll say this. I have no problem changing it. Didn't do us any good to have great or bad or whatever. Let's change it up. Can't keep running back the same thing thinking something different is going to happen.
No, definitely not. And also, just quick housekeeping on stuff going on in the Mets world. We're going to get you guys another episode later this week. We'll see. I'm sure something crazy is going to happen. But Kodai Senga has apparently come out and said that he wants to remain a Met.
Shocked.
So, interesting about that. Well, are you?
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to have to be moved across the country to a strange place. I'm sure no one of your same cultural descent. You don't want to risk that.
It's more that he said it out loud.
How do you think that leaked?
I think he told somebody.
Will Salmon reported it. Don't you think this feels like something where if the Mets are getting trade offers that they don't think are good enough, you kind of leak he actually doesn't want to get traded, see if one more person does something a little bit better because you kind of put out there you're going to keep him? It's definitely possible, right? They were also there were people thinking that David Stearns leaked this stuff to Mike Puma. That was some of the funniest things.
What?
I was bored. I was taking a train today. I was reading through Twitter replies. That was one of the funniest things I've ever read in my life.
That and Lane Kiffin tweets were take the internet this weekend.
Lane Kiffin tweets plus all of my own personal Ohio State, Michigan slander. This is one of my favorite Twitter days I've experienced in a very, very long time. The Lane Kiffin content's incredible. So college football is the best. But that's interesting with Kodai. And also just because we haven't talked about it with you guys, if you want to deeper talk about the Dylan Cease contract, check out our other channel, The Wind Up. Huge recap video about that. That contract was sick. I credit the Blue Jays for going out and giving Dylan Cease a huge bag. Some people think it's an overpay with the deferred money. It's like 7 for $180. It's a pretty fair contract. The years are a little scary, but Dylan Cease is a good pitcher.
Dylan Cease is going to be cheaper than Max Fried, and I think could be very similar value given the changes that he makes.
I think it's actually wound up being exactly the same.
Really? Oh, okay.
When the deferred money factors in for present day value.
Fried 8 for $218. That's what I'm thinking, rather than the 7 for $182 or whatever that is.
Yeah, the Yankees love stretching the contracts out a little bit and going a little lower. Yeah, Fried's only making $22 million per year. He counts $27 million a year though against the luxury taxes. He also has no deferred money in the Fried contract. The full no trade clause. Wow, interesting. So big signing bonus, $27 million a year against the luxury tax. So Dylan Cease cheaper against the luxury tax than Max Fried. I think that's a hilarious comparison of two pitchers too.
It's also very funny because I know a lot of people at times will get mad at us or get mad at people on the internet for how you talk about pitching, and they're like, Dylan Cease 4.5 ERA, and then you're like, oh, a team gave him $200 million in November. Like, we don't say this stuff to just toot our own horn. Like, this is what people value. This is what people look for.
Yeah, and we also had the annual Thanksgiving fake tweet that was Hector Gomez, right?
Hector Gomez. What the fuck was that, man?
Yeah, it's trying to say that the Mets were 6 for 200 on Framber. I think it's funny to think about a 6 for 200 Framber and a 7 for 210 Cease, but really 7 for 180 Cease, because I'd much rather have Dylan Cease.
Oh, if those compared contracts, 1,000,000% would rather have Cease. And I'll tell you this, there's no world where David Stearns would sign Framber Valdez to 6 for 200. That's like a gross overpay.
I don't think so either. People sometimes talk about the fact that Steve Cohen actually is the GM behind the scenes sometimes. That would be one where I would think that Steve Cohen was actually behind the scenes sometimes.
Either that or Stearns is fucking... He knows something that we don't.
He's just Framber is still a good pitcher, but...
Yes, but that's like $33 million a year.
That was a scary contract. But I think that was a jump scare for Mets fans on Thanksgiving, which is exactly a year to the day of Hector Gomez said Juan Soto was a Red Sox. So just take it all with a grain of salt.
And it's pretty close to when he told us that Francisco Alvarez is still waiting for him to sign that contract extension.
Yeah, waiting for that. I think that one comes this offseason. But also, it's kind of funny because Hector Gomez is Gilbert Gomez's brother, who's the Mets' new first base coach.
Is he really?
Yeah, so people are like, oh, he has inside scoop from our first base coach.
No way.
I don't think a lot of lead executives, president of baseball operations, like bring in their first base coach to tell them about the moves that are being made.
Keep them in the loop.
I'd be shocked about that one. But yeah, it was a funny weekend. Feels like we haven't podcasted in a long time. So nice to kind of just brain dump a lot of the bullshit that happened the last few days.
And I think that's pretty much it. We'll keep it to about 30 minutes for you guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Make sure you are subscribed to Mets'd so you don't miss out on any of the content. If you're listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. You can follow James at
James Shiano.
I'm Giraffe Neck Mark. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching. And we will catch you all later this week for what's probably going to be another chaotic episode because it's the Mets. See ya.
I'm sure. Let's go Mets, guys.